And welcome to another exciting episode of The Energy That Surrounds Us. Before I introduce my guest tonight, who I'm sure to a lot of you needs no introduction, but I'll do one anyway. We are experiencing storms, so if I cut out or if the signal goes bad, it's Mother Nature playing havoc again. And in full transparency, as I'm sure a lot of you are aware, when storms come through, they bring in new crud. So, yes, I am fighting allergies right now. So, I hope my voice is clear and everything will be fine. But just wanted to be transparent with you all. And so, I am blessed to introduce a guest who already had the pleasure of interviewing Kel and I as Paranormal Versus. So I am so appreciative that I could have her on the show and in such short notice. So thank you for that, Glenda.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking me.
And so without further ado, I am going to turn it over to the one, the only, the super magical mystic herself, Glenda Dawson.
Wow, after an introduction like that, what can I say? Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome, and thank you for coming on and sharing everything that you are into. And let me tell you, folks, when I looked at her bio, I learned stuff about things I thought I was already at the pinnacle of, and realizing there's a whole lot more. So I am going to give Glenda the stage to kind of share some of her background with you all and get a feel for where the show's going to go.
Well, thank you. Um, I was been gifted all my life. I have been speaking to spirits, archangels since early on, since before age of 2. And from that point on, basically, it's the energy and the connection has been getting stronger and stronger. I am a Reiki Grandmaster, 25th level of Usui. I do over 100 different other modalities in Reiki and teach also, by the way. I do past life regressions, future life regressions, galactic life regressions, so to speak. I am a mentor. I teach classes of almost every single type there is. I teach tarot. I teach mediumship. I do meditations. You name it, I basically do it. It's a little bit of everything. I've been very blessed to have been put on this earth at a beautiful time where I could develop all my gifts and share them with the world to have them um, have everyone that's around me and who wants to learn, evolve, heal, which is what we all came for here for at this moment. So.
And that's amazing. And one of the things that kind of stuck out to me in your bio that we kind of glazed a little bit over was you are the matriarchal mystic. How does
Mm-hmm.
one, what does that actually entail and how does that come about?
Well, I found out that at least 8 generations of women back in my family have all had the gifts. They all been able to be clairvoyant. They could see. They were mediums. They could tell when foretell, when something's going to happen. So they all had those gifts. They were not able to really talk about them and when I was growing up, it was a big, you talk only to me, my mother, and my grandmother, and that was about it. So I was blessed to at least have them. My father was very, very religious, and he always thought that all that stuff was, driven by the devil. But anything that heals, I can't believe is brought by negativity. Um,
Right.
and I've been using all those gifts always for healing, always to be in the light, always for good, and never to do any damage or destroy, which is a major difference, because when you concentrate on the light and in positivity, it increases, your gifts increase, and your connection to the other side, to UFOs, to aliens, to beings, cryptics in general, it increases, and you're able to speak to them, and you're able to communicate with them, and you're able to get their stories instead of losing all those gifts. Because eventually, if you use it for something that is not positive, you will lose the connection. You may have somewhat, but it's not going to grow. So,
So I'm a little curious
mhm,
because being a history major, I know when we're talking 8 generations back, there's the Salem witch trials period
mhm.
and the Reformation period and a lot of religious upheaval. So I'm sitting here thinking this was never publicly talked about. So did you find this through past life regressions or
No, I found this through my mother and my grandmother, because
okay.
it's what people call Book of Shadows. It's a book of each woman that had gifts, and she would write down what her gifts were, and for example, her recipes, what she did for this, what she did for that, and it goes back all the way to Romania. So
Wow.
yeah,
That's
so that's
impressive.
I look at it as, when I found out it was from Romania, I wasn't shocked or anything. I'm like, okay, whatever. And then when I really studied in high school about Romania and all that other stuff, and I'm like, oh my god, it's
Yeah.
like that's when it shocked me, when I really understood the meaning of that, because they were telling me, but you just grab the information, you take it at face value, and that's it. And so that's where it came. And then in high school is when I started realizing what everything meant. So
In full honesty,
mhm.
I am Reiki master, and my understanding was that is as far as you go. I never heard of this Grand Master Usai Reiki, and so when you said that, I was like, wait a minute, where did this come from? And
Well, you remember um, Dr. Hakata that came and taught and all that other stuff. When they made it official, they started, her students started channeling different levels. They would do exactly what a Sui would do, would be going out and meditating and all that other stuff. And they would come up with more symbols, more levels, more specialized uh, symbols to get closer to the divine. So the stronger the I hate to say it this way, but the only way I can explain it is, the higher you go in level, the closer you get to that divine energy that you are channeling when you're doing Reiki, that you are gathering when you're doing Reiki. So it comes to a point where you actually are as close as you can be to the divine or to the creator without staying over there. Let's just say that. Um, and then you gather that energy, which is all love. It's based on love, and it's just overwhelming love. And you channel that energy. And my students can tell you that they have um, received very different Reiki treatments when I do it, because I combine that. I combine whatever it is that they need, with their higher self telling me, oh, even though they say their knee hurts, it's really their foot, but it's also emotional, and it could also be spiritual. It could also be that they're having a sort of like a meltdown, so it'd be mental. It could be that their aura was dented, or because somebody was jealous of them. So all that stuff, it makes for a full um, treatment session. And then um, all the other types of Reiki are more specialized. Like I always say, Usui is like the family physician, the primary. And then so Karuna Ki is more specialized, and Kundalini is more specialized. So if you're telling me my Kundalini is trying to rise, but I feel blockages and I'm getting headaches and I feel nauseous all the time and all that, then I will use Kundalini on top of everything, using a Sui, so to help you rise and awaken and ascend without having all the side effects and all the symptoms of
Ooh, sign me up for that.
that. Anytime.
So I'm curious,
Hmm.
is it, and I don't mean this to sound how it's going to sound, so everyone, before you jump my case, I'm just framing it in a way that my brain is putting it right now. But
Okay.
so, did your mom influence you into becoming the mystic and the matriarchal and studying all this, or was it she left you on your own and you were just naturally drawn?
She always encouraged education. She told me, education, whatever you learn, nobody can take away from you. They could take your job, but not your knowledge. They could take your position, but not your knowledge. So, whatever you do, the more you learn, the more you study, the, the better you become for yourself. And things will just fall into place. That was always her advice to me, because I would always be like, oh, should I do this? Should I do that? And truthfully, when I started this, I was a little older, like actual learning Reiki. It was in the 80s when I had to go to New York City, and it was big auditoriums, and one grandmaster from Japan would come, or China would come, and they would teach it there. And you once a year they would come and you would get your certificate. You didn't get books then. You didn't get the symbols written or anything like that. It all had to be up here, and hopefully the next day when they kind of tested you how your connection was, it was working. Um, but I was blessed that everything was connecting, and I just felt so invigorated that I continue. And the more I continue, the more invigorated I get. It's like it energizes me, so I know I'm on the right path.
So, is that why you kind of fell into like 100 plus versions of Reiki, or how did you find all of these? Because I'm like, I had never heard of half of the 3/4 of what you are.
Well, I had a mentor who was very versed. May she rest in peace. I met her when she was 70 years old. And in the 20 years that she was still able to teach, she would teach me everything that she knew. And then she led me to another mentor because she was getting too old at that point. And she led me to another mentor who, like, the saying goes, when the student is ready, the mentor will appear. And exactly that. This mentor has led me through further and further. And I also ask my guides, okay, direct me to whatever direction you think it's good for me next. And, even though I argue with them a little bit because I am a Gemini and I like arguing, but I, I can't just do this, it's, we kind of talked about that. And I kind of argue with them a little bit, but eventually I go in that direction and everything falls into place. And the more I hesitate, the harder it gets, for the rest of my life. So, for example, when they told me to move from New Jersey to Pennsylvania, they kept telling me for about 5 years. And I kept saying, no, let the kids finish school. They've been in that same school system all their life, yada, yada. And they kept saying, so what did they do? They caused, I believe, my house had never flooded or anything, and actually, a hurricane came and hit the house and had water all over the house. So it was like, okay, they're really telling me to move. And so I did, and then everything started running smoothly again. I was like, okay, all right. Thanks for the really stern warning.
Yeah, I love how they tell us the universe guides us, but there are times that I feel like more of forced than guided because they're
Yeah,
like, if you don't do this, we're going to get that cosmic 2x4. And if that
yeah,
don't work, we're going to get the 2x12. And
yeah,
we're going to get you
yeah.
on track.
Well, the thing is, they know that you're here for a reason and for a certain path, and you're ready, but you don't know you're ready, or you think you're not ready, but they know you're ready. They know that you're ready to blossom. They know that you're ready to take those next steps. So they kind of let you know, okay, you're ready to go, but you're like, no, not yet. I don't want to do this, not yet. No, I'm scared, whatever. And they're like, here, it's like the bird out of the nest. If you don't fly, you're gonna die. So basically, so
No, that's funny. So I'm curious with having the 100 plus modalities of Reiki alone in your mind.
uh-huh.
When you work on someone, do you sit there and go, okay, I feel like this is the one, and then something will go, nope, it's this one, and you're like, nope. How do you determine which one to use?
I have learned to let them take the wheel. I should say, okay, I'm here for this person's healing. What is it for their best, highest good? Just direct me. And then I just close my eyes and do it. I mean, I stream a Reiki session every Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern. And every single person gets what they need. So I should send the energy, and it's their higher self to pick up whatever particular energy frequency that person needs. I don't direct it, I should send it out. So it's just basically the same thing. I should surrender to the energy, surrender to the guidance, and let it work. Let it work its magic, basically. Well, I'm just the conduit. So why am I going to direct it? I used to in the very beginning. Oh, it's this, and I'm like, that's silly. I don't really know their higher self. I mean, I may know them, but you know, they know exactly what it is that they need. So I'm just going to send the energy, the ball of energy, that energy there, and let their higher self pick up what they need. And ever since I learned to surrender to it, you'd be amazed how much more you could accomplish and how much deeper you could go.
Hmm.
So,
So it sounds like you could be going in your mind, going, okay, we'll do the dragon fire. And somebody else watching could be like, oh, hey, she's doing a shaman Reiki or different ones. And you're like,
yeah,
no, I wasn't. But if that's
I,
what you picked up, that's what you needed. So
yeah,
good.
exactly. All I do is send Reiki, period. The energy of healing. No matter what the name is, no matter what modality it is, no matter what frequency it is. I send all of the frequencies out, and then the person just picks up whatever they need. I mean, I got clients in Europe, I got clients in Canada, I got clients in South America, and all over the country, but there, and they tell me, oh, I saw you. right in front of me when you were doing it, even though we're on screen or we could be on the phone. And I'm obviously here, not there. And so I'm like, okay. And so is he talking about you?
No, he's talking about you.
I know. Hi, Brian. Nah, he's probably talking about you. He likes you, Brian.
Ryan's a cool guy.
Yes, yes. So we are, it's not up to us to determine what the person needs because, like, for example, when I do a reading and somebody comes for them, it's not for me to say, okay, you wanted your grandmother, but your father's here. It's not for me to say, um, yeah, no, go back because he wants only his grandmother. It's for me, both of us. It's for me to just say, for me to just say, okay, you have your father. He has a message for me, and that may be the person that client needs the most, even though they wanted to speak to their aunt or their grandmother or somebody else. So I've truly have found that once I surrender and say, whatever comes, it's going to come. We're not going to call upon anybody specific because I still believe that the other side has free will. And I would like to believe that because I would like to have free will on who I'm going to haunt. And when I die. And, so I just want people to feel comfortable and get what they need out of everything. It's that basically it's that simple, yet that hard. Because surrendering for us humans is extremely hard.
Yeah, it
Extremely
is.
hard to just let go of that wheel and say, okay, wherever you take me, you take me. But, my life has been that way. And once I learned and I finally surrender, everything works out perfect. So,
So I actually have a question that I actually feel you are the absolute perfect person to ask this of.
sure.
So back when I had hurt my leg, I
Uh-huh.
was in Spain and hurt and I slipped and fell right on my bad leg that I was told absolutely do not fall on.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in panic mode thinking, oh my God. And I had just got done studying Pagan Level 1,
Mm-hmm.
and I have my Reiki Mastership.
Mm-hmm.
And this voice comes to me and says, who are you? And so I figure out they're asking my name. So I declare who I am, declare
Right.
what I'm doing. I'm kind of
Uh-huh.
shortening the story, people. So don't think this conversation was like 5 seconds long. But I ended up bringing in like elements to
Mm-hmm.
heal my leg and reset it. And everybody that I talked to about that was like, "You could do that? How could you do that?" That knowledge, is above like beginners this and this. So where did you get that from? And it was like just something clicked. So is there an elemental Reiki?
Yes, there is. There is an elemental Reiki. There's an elemental um, class, not only Reiki, but I could teach you how to talk to them and work with them, not just for Reiki healing energy or anything like that, but just even getting directions from them, helping them, um, or asking them for their help in going into haunted places. Wow, that's
Yeah,
bad.
it's interesting you say that because I am well known.
He's bad.
I'll tell her you said so, Brian. But when you're saying like talking with the elements,
Yeah.
I would find myself walking and be like, "Hey, Windra,
Hmm.
could you give me a boost of wind right now? Because
Yeah.
it's kind of hot." And it's like I find myself talking to the elements.
Sure. We as humans have lost that capability because they have taught us to fear all that. But as humans, we were part of nature, and nature is part of us. And if we tune in, we could communicate with everything. We could communicate with crystals. We could communicate with elementals like fairies and so-called leprechauns and dragons and all that other stuff. The wind, the fire. People don't understand that we are all connected. And once you have that connection, you realize you have that connection, there's nothing that can stop you, and everything can be accomplished and done. There's no limits. I mean, I know people who have been um, predicted they've gone camping or in a retreat, and it's been predicted that there's going to be terrible hurricanes and possibly tornadoes and all this other stuff, and they have worked together, put themselves together, unite their energy, and that storm would just split and go side to side, but not where they're at. So stuff like that, people think that it's impossible to do, but if you just open yourself up, you will be able to see fairies and hear them and talk to them. You'll be able to see, you could even talk to the actual animals that are there now, like insects like butterflies. And if you pay attention, your dog knows when you're feeling good or not. Your cats know when you're feeling good or not. So they're tuning into you, and you tuning into them, because you also know when they're hungry and when they're not well, and even if they're not showing symptoms. So the idea is to surrender to what we used to be. Humans have been taught to fear everything now. And by doing that, we have actually closed all of our gifts. So once we start opening one gift, the other one automatically starts to open that little door, put that foot in the doorway so it can't close again, and hopefully, hoping that you will let it completely open.
And nurture
So
it.
yeah, exactly.
I
So
was actually taught an interesting analogy that you might find helps with explaining this to people is, so my parents went to a gifted medium,
mm-hmm,
and a lot of people were saying, how come they can see UFOs and I can't? And she said, it's about your filter. Let me put it to you this way. If
mm-hmm,
a UFO was to come outside, hover, or park in the parking lot, half of you will see it. The other half, maybe a quarter of you, will look at it and go, maybe. And the
uh-huh,
other quarter will be like, there's nothing here. What are y'all staring at? And she said that quarter will be because they have no ability to see it. They have no belief,
mm-hmm,
period. They're totally shut off.
mm-hmm.
And so that's how these things exist, but are not seen by everybody.
Exactly,
It's our
exactly,
filters.
exactly. And that's why I say, if you surrender and open and allow those abilities to open and flourish, you could do wonders, and humanity in general will be in such a better place. The ascension process will be a less painful, and we could all ascend to that other dimension that we all been striving for, and feel so much lighter and more spiritual and more connected to the higher beings. Because I'm one of those that does not believe there's one God. I believe if we were made in the image, like the Bible says, it's got to be a God and a goddess. I'm sorry, but it's so. Even taking it word for word, there's got to be two.
Right. And
Uh,
and it's funny talking about the Bible
mm,
because we're taught there was, from the Bible, Adam and Eve, then they had two kids,
mm-hmm.
and those kids got married. Well, people would naturally start to think they married their sisters because there's nobody else around, but the Bible says from a neighboring tribe.
Yeah.
So it then becomes the question of, wait a minute,
Uh-huh.
However, neighboring tribes, if these two are the progenitors
Right.
of the race,
Right. Right.
and so it doesn't make sense.
What about Lilith? Lilith all of a sudden was mentioned in one sentence and gone. Adam's first wife.
Yeah, I actually have a theory about Lilith, and I
Oh, I
talked
gotta
about it
hear.
on an episode
Uh-huh.
of my show, Riding Through the Unknown. And so when we say God plucked a rib from Adam,
Mm-hmm.
thus came Eve. Well, if you look at that in the terms of modern science,
Mm-hmm.
they genetically altered someone to become Eve.
Yep.
Who did they alter? Lilith, because Lilith disappears and
Yep.
becomes Eve, and the story changes through modifications, so she
Mm-hmm.
becomes the first, maybe hybrid or
Good point.
altered human, so to speak.
Right.
And it's like, and I will hear people always say to me, that's impossible. And I'm like, well, what do we call it today? Well, yeah, that's today. I'm like, do we
Uh,
really think the gods didn't know how to do this back then?
Even beings from other planets know how to do it before we did.
I know. We're like the slow ones
We're
because we
yeah,
were
yeah.
slowed down. That's what I
Mhm.
think. We were slowed down.
Yeah, well, we did come to evolve our souls. So in a way, we kind of have to go through the rough spots to learn, right, and evolve.
Right.
So they had to take that knowledge out so we can relearn things. Like a brand new baby, they got to learn how to crawl, they got to learn how to walk, talk, and
Yeah.
eat, all that. So,
So I'm going to tell you what, Glenda, if that story of Lilith resonates with you, by all means, use it. You got my permission to have at it with that theory.
okay, thank you. I will do that.
And another thing, too, that a term we've been talking around and haven't
Mhm,
really identified is mystic. How do
mhm.
you define mysticism and being a mystic?
Well, my term being a mystic is someone who uses nature and energy. Um, myself use it for good, for positive doing, for positive healing, for construction, not destruction. Um, mystic is the old fashioned, what used to be called in the olden days a witch, somebody who just knew how to work with herbs and certain spices and stuff like that to come up with a cold medicine or a decongestant or how, put something on top of a wound to help them heal, or antibiotics, or for goodness sakes, a toothache. And they the old generations in those times used to think that you had to go through pain because that was servitude. And no, 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 you don't have to go through pain all the time. You don't have to go through every single bad thing that's presented to you in order to learn and to grow and to be more connected to the divine. Yes, in the very religious uh, societies, they thought that the more you suffered, the closer you got to God. Well, I believe God didn't put us here, or the divine didn't put us here to suffer all the time. I believe that divine put us here, or we decided to come here to learn, evolve, and then have our fun in between. There's no need to be there 100% in the negative. Because that just, it doesn't allow you to conquer your challenges, and it doesn't allow you to evolve because you're always worrying about what other negative stuff is going to happen to you. So I feel that that's very different than what they used to think. But yes, it's basically A mystic is somebody who knows how to work with energy, who speaks to spirit, who knows how to communicate the other side, not just the spirit, but galactics, um, what people call UFOs, all that, whatever, um, and just elementals, the elements. You just learn how to communicate and work with them. Like I work with dragons. I work with dragon energy. I have a dragon that protects me. I have a dragon. I've had that dragon since I can remember, always protecting me and being around me and giving me warning signs like, a really bad uh, fire that comes out of their mouth. It's like, okay, don't go in that direction. You need to go in a different direction because I don't always pay attention, like I said before, or I do, but I ignore it. So they have to do more like, pay attention now, that kind of thing. So, but it's just a matter of, to me, is a mystic that is a person who has learned to communicate and work with everything that's in nature, whether it's this dimension or other dimensions, because we
Right.
all exist at the same time. It's just a matter of what you see, where you see it, and where you're at.
Right, and I'm curious because we're talking about dragons, and half
Hmm.
of the people will be like, dragons were dark. Other halves are like, no, dragons were both.
Hmm.
Do you feel the dragon energy is more of who's summoning it and calling it forward? Summoning's kind of a bad
Yeah, so a bad
word.
word, but I
What?
understand. Um, I don't summon it. It's just I say, okay, I would like to work with the dragons today, and if they come, fine. I should let them know that I really would like to work with them that day. And when they come and say to me, okay, well, we're going to work with you, but what are you looking to do? And the reason they have disappeared is because we were hunting them. Humans were hunting them and killing them. Of course, they're going to protect themselves and hide. They hide in Mount Shasta, they hide in Japan, they hide in certain places where they go into their energetic dimension, into their energetic level that we don't really see unless we're willing to see. And we are um, of good heart, enough of a good heart that we're not going to kill them, because if they feel a threat, they're just going to disappear again. That's what it comes down to.
Right, I agree. And
Yeah.
I'm curious as well with your galactic shaman background
Mm-hmm.
and your shamanism. How often do you get to where you're like, okay, I can't clear this blockage. The energy is just too much.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll feel something behind you, and you just step to the side, and it just gets blown out. And they're like, yeah, we're here to help, and we're gonna
Well,
help.
they're with me all the time. Um, so whenever I need something, they know I need it before I do. And like you say, for example, if it's galactic shamanism, you know, the what we call aliens, some people call aliens, they just appear and they're like, okay, you feel that this one needs healing. And they choose whether to do the healing right there, or they choose later to take that being, that person, to their ship and heal them there, because of course they have a lot more knowledge and stuff that they could work with up there. So they do it up there. But I when I do anything, say full moon for example, I say to them, okay, I'm gonna have a full moon event, full moon ritual, full moon intention. And whoever wants to participate, come with me so I can feel your energy. Let me know you're here. And I like just let them choose who wants to be here, who doesn't want to be here. And, like even when I channel the Council of Nine, okay, whoever shows up, that's who I channel. I don't put restrictions on them because, for goodness sakes, they know a lot more than I do. And they see above everything, above all the bullshit, about all, excuse the French, about all that drama, about all that stuff. They see it. They know exactly what everyone needs. So when I ask for them to come down, they come and they give me the peace that I need, or the healing that I need, or that day just the energy that I need. I don't request it like a lot of people would, like you said, someone said, I never do that. I should say, I'm going to do this, whoever wants to come. I would love to have you guys, dragons, come with me, but I already know that my dragon is with me all the time. So if I need that energy, if he feels that he's going to have to call more dragons in, he'll call them in. I don't have to do it. He'll spread the news out. When I work with the fairies, they do their thing. They know what frequency they need to use, what level they need to use. I'm basically just like, hey guys, let's do this, let's party, and they bring all the stuff that they we need to party, basically. And I
Yeah,
just,
it's funny how you say that because I was on a trip
mm-hmm,
in Mississippi visiting family,
mm-hmm,
and it's late at night. And if you're familiar with Mississippi highways, late at night in the country, it's basically pitch black. You're lucky to see the road.
mm-hmm.
Well, we started feeling a little nervous, and so I started kind of snickering and laughing. And my mom would be like, "Well, why are you kind of snickering, laughing? What's going on?" I said, "No one's going to interfere with the car." And she's like, "How do you know that?" I go, "Because there's a dragon on the top of the car watching over us. And I don't think anyone is going to come up and say, 'Oh, hey, I want to attack these people.
Yeah,
Dragon, you're not an issue. You're not a threat.'" It's like, no.
yeah, they got a fight on their hands.
But yeah, it's like, and I instinctively knew to
Hmm.
call the dragon to protect the car.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You are open to your gifts, and not you're not living life with expectations about it. You're just letting it come, and when you instinctively know that, that's your intuition, and you're just open to it. Not too many people are, and that's where the blockages come in, because intuition is telling you, the little voice inside of you is saying, okay, call the fairies. And you're like, no, I heard that they're bad, yada yada. Yeah, they're mean when you mess them up, but if they're trying to protect themselves, but if you're respectful to them, they are extremely helpful.
And
I have,
fun.
yeah, I have been, almost went to a place where I was going to do a paranormal investigation event type of thing, and they told me to wear iron. I'm like, what for? Oh, for the fairies. I'm like, no, I work with the fairies. Why would I wear iron to keep them away? Like, don't be silly. To me, it was just, I don't need to, because I don't insult them. I don't work against them. I work with them. I like to work with all the elements and all the beings, because each and every one of us are in existence for a reason. And literally, we all are come from the same place, different forms, but we all come from the same place. So why am I going to think that I'm a human, so I'm above everybody? Some of these,
Yeah.
just by looking at me, go poof, and I go poof. So why am I going to think that I'm above everything and everyone? That's it's silly. And if you learn how to work with all of the elements, all of the energies that are out there, you can really bring a lot of peace around you, and a lot of good things happening, and a lot of learning and evolving, and you will start to see all these things that people don't usually see. You'll be able to see 10 steps ahead of something that you're trying to decide. Like we were talking earlier, you make a decision, you look at scenarios all at once. Well, when you're in synchronicity with the all of the energies around you, you can see that because they're showing you that. The normal person that is closed off can only see one or two steps in front. That's why they get scared, they have fear. That's why they get depression. That's why they get headaches when they're trying to figure out a problem or a solution. That's why they get all that stuff because they're not in synchronicity with their own energy or anything around them or even nature. And we all came from one place, love. We're all going back to love. So why not participate in the love that's here now? That loving energy that unites us all, the oneness. Why mess around with I'm better, an animal's better, you're better? Why do that? And a lot of these uh, beings that people call evil or demonic or anything like that, they're just pissed off energies. A lot of them. Now, I'm not saying there isn't, certain things that are really, really um,
Dark.
chaotic. Yeah,
Yeah.
dark and chaotic because there has to be the light and the dark. That's just it. This is the place that everything exists. But I'm not saying I work with them, but I respect them. They respect me. We kind of like, okay, acknowledge and we on our own way. And there's no need to destroy anything that doesn't need to be destroyed because everything is here for a reason. The yin and yang, and life throws you the ups and the downs. So it's how you ride that ride that makes you evolve, learn, love, um, grow, and ascend. That's my theory.
No, I agree with you. And one of the things that a lot of people that watch this show knows, I will deflect to TV or movies to kind of make a clear point.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been on TikTok studying and watching these videos that people put together of if Star Wars,
Mm-hmm.
went a different way and the
Right.
storyline changed. And one of them is when Vader dies and they burn him, the Force is fractured and Anakin returns with no memory of being Vader. And Vader returns seeking to hunt down Anakin because he's like, I got to become whole again.
Mm-hmm.
But the interesting thing is, we always looked at Star Wars and said, Jedi good, Sith bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yoda in this version says, both are we. We have good, we have bad.
Yes.
Just depends which one we nurture that day.
Mm-hmm.
And we walk the balance. And so it's like when I was reading that, I was looking at that and going, that is the oneness we're looking for is the balance of both. We don't need to eliminate one to
Exactly.
have the other.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of curious because we did have a major event just happen,
Mm-hmm.
and the energies, I'm sorry for those who, you know, believe whatever they choose to, but the energies changed. I have
Mm-hmm.
felt
There was a
different.
shift. Yes. Yes.
What do you feel like was the draw to the eclipse that was the reason the energies are so different? What really happened, do you feel like?
Well, I feel we finally shifted back on a more positive path. I think we were. before the eclipse, I think we were wavering back and forth to the extremes. We were going really negative, and then we would correct, and we would go all the way that way, and you know. But I think that the eclipse actually did like a reset, like a cleansing, a reset. Today, I'm like full of energy. I feel so much better than I did yesterday and the day before. I have no headache because at the last couple of days I was getting headaches. I have no headaches. I'm seeing things more clearly, and to me, it was this shift. Like now, whoever really wants to take advantage of that shift can. So it's up to them, whatever they choose to do with this shift. That's the way I feel. So now, for me, I went and started to see a different perspective, even in myself, started to see a different perspective in others. And I would be like, okay, this guy cut me off, and I would be, mm-mm. And I'm like, okay, I guess you have to be there before I do. So go ahead. And today, I just, I was driving and people cut me off. I'm like, okay, you got to be there wherever you got to go. You got to get there right away. So go for it. And it didn't bother me. So I felt a complete shift even within myself. And I didn't really get to see it because it was cloudy, but I still felt the shift in energy. And I feel fantastic today. I really do. I was like, oh, renewed energy and feel so much lighter, and just walked out and saw a sunny day and heard the birds singing and the flowers and all that, and I'm like, wow, this is beautiful. Just by one thing shifting. Now there may be people that it didn't happen to, but that, maybe they were expecting something else. I was not expecting anything. I just figure I let it happen. So
I was the same way, and to be honest, it was like there were moments where it looked like, I know people are gonna say this is science fiction, but it looked like the clouds started swirling like somebody opened a Stargate
mm,
near the eclipse. And then after it was over, it was like, okay, and yes, it was cloudy, so it would appear, disappear, appear,
hmm
disappear.
right.
But today, when I was on a walk, I had to stop because it's like my energy all of a suddenly was like where I normally like up here.
Yeah.
It's like it went to here and was like, we don't know what to do now. And it's
Mm,
like my brain is like kind of in a fog a little bit, and I'm feeling off, and I'm wondering, is my body just taking more time to assimilate what
hmm
happened in the eclipse, or are the two unrelated?
No, I believe that our bodies are letting us know whether we need rest. I've been resting a lot more for the last month than I have previously. I kept hearing, you gotta rest, you gotta relax, otherwise, you're not going to be around for things. It's like, take it easy. Your body needs that rest. So I decided to listen, and all this time I've been resting. So now it's like, ooh, okay, I'm getting energized because I did stop and relaxed and took a moment and breathed in and kind of let myself catch up, which is probably what your body is doing now.
Right. And an interesting turn of events was
Uh-huh.
last night we had a major storm at 3 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a rescue dog who trembles at the sound of thunder.
Mm-hmm.
So for an hour and a half of twilight, perfect sleep time, I was up trying to calm him down.
Mm-hmm.
Bless his heart, I don't, I'm not upset with him for keeping me up.
Right.
But could it be that that interfered with the calibration, and so the body was like, hey, we didn't finish, we're now have to restart because you Like a computer, you interrupted the process.
The- well, who knows? But I really feel that once you actually take some time to relax, you will start feeling that energy come back, and it's going to come back a lot higher than you before. Um, so maybe that's what happened. You know, overnight you woke up and you didn't get that full night's sleep. But I honestly believe that it's just the time to rest and look within a little bit, and then that will recharge you. Uh,
All right, and I'm curious with you teaching meditation classes, and
mhm.
I know we're getting close to the hour. Do you have time to go a little bit over?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Okay. So, when you're meditating, I know
Mhm,
people sometimes do guided where you're supposed to like go to the valley or
mhm,
go to places, experience things.
mhm,
I have started to notice I have theories that come into my brain and they're like, okay, this is where you're at with the theory. This is the
mhm,
level that someone pointed out to you. This is the level that you're connecting it to. But now
mhm,
there's this level. And it's like all of a sudden my mind is making more connections and theories while I'm doing like a 20-minute meditation guided. And I'm like, I can't focus on what they're telling me. It's like the second I close my eyes, they go off and they're like, all right, this is
mhm.
the time you're giving us. We're using it. When you wake up, go start this.
Well, that's when they channel to you messages and directions, because you're actually shut down what has been called the monkey mind. You're actually down and relaxing, so they're able to communicate with you a lot easier. So that's why you may not be able to hear what the person is guiding you through. You may not be able to even see what they're where they're sending you. I meditate to Pitbull, the singer.
Oh, I
I
can't
put
blame you there.
I put that on. I close my eyes and just that's it. So meditation isn't only just sitting there quiet and all that. You could do meditation as you're walking. Just let your mind wander and open it up. And as you're walking, you're going to be getting messages. You're going to be getting direction. You're going to be getting what your higher self is saying. Hey, you know, you might benefit from doing this. You might benefit from doing that. So it people dance and they meditate doing that, because the meditation part is not about thinking per se. It's about shutting down that monkey mind that takes you and it's thinking about the dishes you didn't do, the problems you didn't solve, about the cars that you didn't get inspected or washed or whatever it is, instead of just being and being in the moment and surrendering to just a relaxation.
Right. And have you noticed? Sorry.
That's okay.
Have you noticed in your class people describing that to where they're like, hey, I used to be able to follow you, listen, but now I'm going over here. And so it's like, do you find where that's happening with people you're teaching or yourself where you're like, hey, this isn't my normal meditation. What's going on?
Well, I have found that even my students actually fall asleep. They hear me, but they're in their own world. They get rejuvenated. They get energized. They come out with clarity. They're like, "Oh my God, I just solved the problem I had. What direction to go to?" It's so the idea of doing that is to put the brain in just a relaxed REM mode, basically, so it can actually the body can actually function, the soul can actually communicate, the spirit, the guides can communicate with you. and direct you and show you what you need to do. Meditation is just not about finding a way to relax. Yes, it's helpful for that, of course, but it is so much more than people think or people allow themselves to
And I am going to take a moment, if you will
think.
indulge me, and take a
Hmm.
leap and combine something that you may never have combined. And so
Go
I'm
ahead.
curious your thoughts is we talk about magic in the world and
Hmm.
magic.
Hmm.
When we're meditating, do you feel like we're tapping into the magic and it's becoming more familiar with us and attuned? And so we're becoming able to use it in the conscious state. And also, to piggyback onto that, how do you define magic in the world?
Okay. I believe there's magic in everything you do. The ability to go outside and look at a flower and actually acknowledge the flower and have that energy that you put into it and look at the flower and look how beautiful it is and acknowledge it and really take note of what it is and how it is giving you joy. That's magic. There's magic everywhere. It isn't just hocus pocus or clip your shoes and your home. um because home is wherever you want to be, you know so magic is in everything. For goodness sakes, eh, look how magical this thing is. You put it out in the moonlight on the full moon, it gets recharged unless I recharge it during in between. And you just look at it and you feel its energy and its properties of healing, protecting, all that stuff. So there's magic everywhere. People just think that magic is, a trick of a hat or uh, you're conjuring things. No, it is magic is something that everyone has the ability to, if you're open to seeing what the reality is. Like a miracle. Okay, we're going to the other side. Miracle every single time a child is born. Yes, it's a miracle. Because you know what that child has to go through, that embryo has to go through to get to 9 months to actually be born, and function as a little human. There's a lot. First, having the right soul, making sure that that soul wants to be here, making all that stuff. Oh, this is not who don't. So it's really interesting.
Right. And I feel like when we look at, say, the movies of King Arthur,
Mm-hmm.
and we look at Merlin and
Uh-huh.
all of everything that's going on,
Mm-hmm.
I can't help but wonder, are we being denied the true magic? Because in some movies, they will show like him holding dirt and a
Mm-hmm.
flower grows in his hand, and he's like, that's magic. But
Well,
he also like will talk to them about plans of doing something and getting
right,
their minds focused, and of course
right.
they end up winning the day. I'm like, to me, I was like, that was the bigger magic.
Well, when I do gardening, I talk and I give energy to my plants, my seeds, my plants. So they grow. So to me, that's using my magic because I show them respect. I say, I love the fact that you're coming here. I love the fact that you're you're giving me um, the fruits. You're giving me your magic. You're doing what you need to do, which, let's face it, is magic. They need to grow, they need sunlight, they need the right amount of water, the right amount of nutrients, all that to grow and provide food, provide flowers, provide whatever it is that plant is supposed to provide. Going from a little seed that God knows where it came from, to that. So
So yeah,
that's
go
that's
ahead.
definitely that is definitely something that people don't get. There's magic everywhere. Just the fact that right now we can talk right here. That's basically magic. We could um, we can see things that are coming. We can smell the beautiful smells that are out there and all that other stuff. That's magic. All that is magic. It's not as off the charts as people think. A child, when they first see something, a first flower that they see, the wonder in their eyes, that's magic. That they look at it and they examine it and they appreciate it and they kind of communicate with that plant. And that to me is magic. You work with the elements. That's in a way magic. You're able to, yes, I know it has a bad connotation, but it's not bad. The fact that people are awakening, that's in a way magical because we're finally opening our eyes and opening our hearts. So I don't understand why is it that people are so worried about that word. It's just it's a word that changes from every so often from generation to generation. It changes in meaning.
I feel like to me, what's
Hmm.
threatening about them
Yeah.
is we're in a system to where, and don't attack me for this statement, but mainstream religion has become a fear based religion. It's a
Hmm.
fact. They suppress your natural divine abilities and everything. And so when I look at it from that perspective,
Hmm.
I look and say, well, if I am able to do magic,
Hmm.
I can't be controlled.
Right. Right. We're awakening. We cannot be controlled, and that's what all this time they have been afraid of. That's why the Bible was looked at. The Bible had a lot more books than it has now. It was revised. It has been translated by people with agenda. And, the original Bible that exists locked away, the original written stuff that is all locked away and we cannot look at, has galactics, have people coming from the sky, have silver discs, you know, have the ability of people communicating without saying a word. It all mentions all that stuff there. But because they did not want to lose the control of humanity, those that were in power, they started putting fear in everything. So that's what happened. That's where we're here now. And that's why we're starting the shift again. And all of those new souls that are being born are new souls. They've never been born. A lot of those souls, those kids that are being born now, are divine beings, are angelic beings, beings that are above us that have never incarnated. And they're here to help us move to that full shift of awakening.
And so
It's
I
just.
wonder,
Mhm.
as we're awakening and everything, oh, my brain just went into fog mode. Oh, I had this great line that I was like, a path, and I was like, this theory. And so, oh, okay, I remember now. Ah, joys of live shows.
Yeah.
As you are doing all that you're doing, and I thank you for doing what you're doing because it is needed in this world.
Thank you. I'm just here for the service of it. So, you know,
You have, what is it, two podcast shows?
I have two podcast shows. I have the Reiki uh, healing sessions. I have a channeling session that I also stream every Sunday night. So I used to have more, but I'm slowly cutting down to kind of, like I said, for about a month or two, I've been kind of trying to rest a little so I could gear up again. So, and I teach classes. Like tonight, I had a class that is actually a course, 26 session course on self love. So I'm guiding them through that. I also teach tarot, which is 18-month course. So people can learn tarot not just by what the cards say, but what their intuition say and start trusting themselves. And it's a process of healing also in those 18 months. Because it isn't just about learning tarot. Anybody could take that book, open it up, and say what that book says. But I make them look even deeper, make them look into themselves and what their guides are saying and what their intuition is saying.
Right, the
So
hidden images on the cards.
even further than that.
So it's interesting you pronounce it tarot or
Uh-huh.
I
Tarot.
always thought it was tarot.
It just depends on where from the country, what side of the country you're in, or what north, south, east, west.
So what's the title of your show? So if people wanted to
Okay.
see them, and what are they about?
Oh, sure. The Paranormal Dolls is every Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern, and it's everything paranormal. People who are actors, who are directors, who not just regular, you're not just paranormal investigators, but people who you wouldn't expect would have experienced paranormal things. Um, so that. Of course, the Reiki session healing, that's at 6 p.m. on Monday nights Eastern. So that's about half an hour of a Reiki healing session. Then on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, I have Glenda's Dragon's Den. And that is about everything and anything. That show, the first run was back in 2018, 2019, before COVID. And then I stopped it for a while and then I started it up again. But that is basically anything. The person could be an author, the person could be from MUFON, the person could be Wiccan, the person could be. It's just anything. So to show everyone there's different ways of living life, different perspectives. We could be talking about the exact same crystal, but everybody could look at it differently, call it differently. So why don't we learn about everybody else's different perspective so we can learn more and be more open? And then on Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern, I have a channeling session which channels the Council of Nine. Council of Nine is one of the um, councils of light beings that talk to us, especially right now, because we're trying to ascend. We're trying to get out of this 3D dimension that we're in. So we go and we bring down their messages. We bring down their codes, and each code we go somewhere. We actually receive healing when we're able to travel to that code. So it's traveling codes that helped us in the quantum field, in the galactic field, depending on where they want to send us. Because we sometimes, all of us need healing, but we just don't know what. So they take us there to get us to feel better, I mean, there's times where we end a session and we're all crying because we all release so much energy or so much stuff that it's amazing. So we cry out of joy, not a cry out of sadness. And then, I do run on Zoom um, psychic mediumship development class every Thursday night, only on Zoom or in person. I have a hybrid session at 7 p.m., and that is complimentary. So there's no charge for that. So it doesn't make any difference if you're a beginner or a pro at it. We all need practice. And the more we practice, the better that connection is. So,
So how do you find time to do all this? Because I barely managed 3 shows, and you're like 6 or 8.
yeah, I don't know. That's why that is why I said I was resting a little bit, kind of concentrating on really what I need to do. And soon I'm going to be doing a lot more um, because I'm recording now some major courses so people can just do it on demand. And this way, and then they say, for example, Reiki 1, I'll do the course and then schedule the attunement one on one. So I could get more of if they have any questions and do it like that. But they see the actual 4 or 5 hour course by themselves at their own pace. And then they could ask me the questions. Because when I teach Reiki, it's one day, lots of hours, then an attunement, and then 21 days later, another meeting where we talk about what their experiences were because you always do healing, no matter what level, what type of Reiki it is. You always do healing in between the two attunements, and then the next attunement is kind of like a sealing attunement, like a re-energetic, energizing attunement. And if there were any blockages that were brought up because of their healing, we clear that right there. So that kind of thing, and so I'm in the process of doing that stuff. Now, also, mind you, I do babysit my 18, 19-month-old granddaughter full time
Wow.
and have clients.
No, I think that's great that you're able to balance all of this, but it brings me to an important question that I feel like
Hmm.
I'm not sure if you've ever been asked or anything, but you talked about stepping back and taking time to rest to
Hmm.
recharge.
Yeah.
How do you recharge your battery?
Um, Dancing, just watching all stupid TV, getting the mind to just not overthink. So I meditate. I talk to my guides and everybody all the time. I let them download whatever messages they want to download. So I intensify my connection to the other side by doing that. And sometimes, believe it or not, just going outside, looking at nature, spending a little time with nature, that helps so much. Take driving because I love to drive. So driving sometimes, not in the middle of rush hour, people. Not a good time because that only aggravates you.
That
But
will drain you. That will
right,
energize you.
right, exactly. I don't do shopping. I do shopping on most of my shopping online, or I send Larry in to get something because I don't like shopping. So I make my boundaries, and I know what helps me and what doesn't, and what doesn't I will not do. So if a client calls and I am not in a good position, then it's not my job at that moment. And I tell them I'm really exhausted. Can we reschedule? Can we do a different time? I may have 3 weeks from now. And my clients understand that when I say that, it's the best thing because I know that, and they know that when we get to a meeting for whatever it is they need, I'm going to be fully functional. Because, we all have things. We're human. We're still human, and we still have to take care of the human body. So,
Right. So where can people find you?
well, the easiest way is to find me on my website, glendasmagicalcreations.com. But, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on TikTok. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on YouTube. Glenda's Magical Creations, Glenda Dawson. You can find my book in Amazon. So I'm almost everywhere. I'm even on Twitch. I'm on Conscious Awakening Network. I'm on Parapost Network. Um, Everywhere. You'll see my face everywhere.
So do you
I
want to
don't know if
give a
it's a
quick?
good thing or a bad thing, but
Oh, that's a good thing. And all the links that she's messaging, mentioning are in the description. So I included them all for you. Do you want
thank
to
you.
give a quick shout out to your book?
My book is called Chrysalis, Sarah's Chrysalis, and it's a book about a woman and what she went through in a certain period of her time. All the tribulations, all the learning, all the opening. It was right after a divorce, and what she went through during that time period, and how she grew into, she started changing and she started evolving. Now, this is going to be a 5 book series. So I started with that part. And then I'm working through the whole series back and then forward. The butterfly will be the last part of it, but it's going to be like the caterpillar and so on, so on, so on, so on. So people can see the full evolution like a butterfly. It goes from a caterpillar to a butterfly, and the whole evolution, because we all go through it, we just don't notice it. Every major thing in your life puts you in a different chapter of your life. And if you listen and you pay attention, there's lessons, there's growth, there's healing to get done. You go through a divorce, there's a lot of healing you got to go through. A lot of self love you got to teach yourself, learning what you really accept and what you don't accept. Um, if you go through an accident and it leaves you, going through a lot of healing in the hospital for a while and all that other stuff, that's major also. If you go through grief, that's major also. So all that stuff takes you to different levels of your life. So this Sarah um, has learned how to use her guides to guide her, how to trust herself, how to really trust herself. Because when you go through a divorce, you're saying to yourself, or a major breakup from your partner or whatever, you say to yourself, now, was I right in picking this one or allowing this one in my life? Wait, what did I do to myself? And yet, at that moment, that was the right thing to do. So you got to learn to trust that everything you do is going to give you an opportunity to learn and evolve. And, whether you're a man or a woman, you still go through the same things. Men, a lot of the times, don't like to share their feelings or what they're going through, but we all go through it. We all have the same heart. We all have the same um, human abilities or tribulations or whatever. So, but that's basically, I took it as a woman because I am a woman, so I could write about that perspective. But we all could all learn.
Right, and I think that's beautiful, and I think that's needed in the world. And it's interesting how you're doing it. So it'll be interesting to see amongst all the other stuff we just got done talking about. You
I am
doing?
work. I
We
am
have
working.
4 books coming.
I am working on the second one. Each has to be 13 chapters, and it cannot be like a book. It's got to be something that you could pick up, entices you to read, and doesn't like bored you to death. So Uh, I accomplished that with the first one, and I'm heading in the second one. I think I'm like in chapter 10 now. So,
All right. So before I close up the episode, one thing I have taken to doing this season is, and I gotta say, I'm really curious, especially with the balance of the red and blue on your shirt. I noticed that is through everything that you've gone through of your
mhm.
own personal experiences, what is a single golden nugget you would want to leave whoever watches this episode with?
Love yourself enough to take your turn. Just love yourself enough to take your turn. We're always giving, going for everyone, doing all that stuff, but we forget us. So if you're not taking your turn, everybody has a turn. Everybody has a ticket, even in the deli counter. You have a number, and everybody has a turn. So take your turn. Do what you need to do for yourself and experience everything that you can. My regret as a almost 63-year-old woman is not the stuff that I have done, but the stuff I thought of doing but didn't do because of fear or because of what others might think. I just, what I did for me, I am very glad I did. Right, wrong, or otherwise. I am very blessed and very glad that I took the chance, threw away all the fears, and did it because that's experience and a memory that will always stay with me, no matter what dimension I'm in or what age I'm in.
That's beautiful thought. And I gotta say, when you said your age, I was like, man, what's your secret? Because you do not look that age.
Laughter, that's my secret. I find humor in everything, and I get mostly everybody's jokes. There's some that are like, what? And then I get it, but I get almost everybody's jokes. And I love to laugh. And, joy brings good cells, and your skin is always rejuvenating. So if you are constantly bringing good cells into your body, it will continue producing good cells.
I can't
That's,
mention anything better than that. So I'm going to say thank you to everyone in the chat room. Thank you again to Glenda for coming on the show. It
thank you for
was a
having me.
blast.
I,
Hopefully, we'll
blessed.
get you back on.
Yes, of course, anytime.
And so I will say, for me, signing off this episode, take each day, no matter where you are in the world, take the time to love yourself. Take your time to count the wins. Don't focus on the losses
Mhm,
because losses could be wins we don't know about yet.
mhm.
And as Glenda put it, take your turn and laugh. Just laugh, basically. So, good night, everyone, and thank you for watching. And we will see you on the next episode. Bye bye, everyone.
Bye.